Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Samso. We're here in Blacksmith Perth again, here with Galan Lithium. We're talking to JP. Maybe JP will start with just an introduction of what, your history, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, thanks, Samso. Galan Lithium is a lithium exploration company listed on the ASX. We're under the code, the ticker GLN. We have been listed over a year, and we have a pretty much brand new lithium project in the lithium triangle in Argentina. We're in a very good position part of the world, meaning that our neighbors are Galaxy Resources, we have POSCO and Live Corporation. They are pretty much, it's an elephant country, and we want to be a baby elephant. So we've done quite good work today, and we're quite excited to tell you where we're at.
In terms of, I remember the lithium rush, I think it was 2018 or late 17, 18. There was the spodumene run, and then the Brine Lithium came onto the show, really. And everyone talks about South America, but until I looked at it closely, it's really centered around what you're talking about, that center area, because you've got Galaxy there. And I sort of now understand where you guys are at. In terms of my understanding, I'm used to hardrock lithium, which is spodumene, and you get your grades, 3%, 2%. Can you just give us an idea of what makes, if someone stumbled onto a Brine Lithium project, what's going to be that number?
Interesting enough, in Australia, people know hard rock lithium, but the history of lithium is the way around. It's pretty much all brines.
Oh, okay.
So brine production has been very strong for the last 40 years. And what I mean by brine production of lithium, that's to clarify, is there have been pretty much two areas where lithium has been produced in the world in the last 30, 40 years, and that it's Chile and Argentina. And you hear companies like Albemarle, SQM, now they've been positioned for a long time. And with the lithium boom of the batteries starting in 2011, spodumene started coming onto the light once again because the price went up a bit. But now in 2017, as you point out, the lithium went up to a big run. And that's what has opened up the lithium market in Australia, and that's why everyone knows. But on the other side of the world, lithium's been there for a long time, and we are positioned in the second best sulfate in the world, and that's why we got large companies sitting as our neighbors. And the interesting thing is that where we are, it positions us to have a project that could potentially see some production. And the reason why the brines has been in the market for a long time is it's got a key equation of high grade and low impurities, meaning that the OPEX is very low, CAPEX to start up is very high, where the spodumene is the way around, low CAPEX but a high OPEX. So there's not bad or wrong, it depends what time of the cycle you are on, but if you look back into history, brines have been very well positioned. One of the key things of brine is time, so it takes a long time to produce compared to spodumene that is very fast to come onto production, and that's why 2 years after start production, in Australia there's a perception that Australia only produces lithium, and South America has been sort of forgotten because the newcomers takes a long time to come. There haven't been many developers in the brine space, just at this stage only one, which has been Orocobre, where in Australia you see many companies coming up and start producing spodumene.
I mean, it's interesting you said about brine being around, and then the whole market's actually the other way around, because iron ore is a bit like that. The Chinese have been running on iron ore on very low grade, 15 to 25% magnetite, but their magnetite you can actually beneficiate instance quite easily, and that's when the big mistake was coming here, thinking the BIFs here were the same. That turned out the other way around. So that's why I'm always interested to talk to guys like yourself who's been in that industry or doing that thing to get the real story behind it. Because I can tell you, most people don't think that. I mean, a few years back, I was actually in Jakarta talking to a Russian guy for raising money and things like that. And he made this comment that he only wants to look at brine because the capex, yes, it's higher, but the opex, which is when things are running, is very low. And then from most businesses, when it's running, it's all about margins after that. And if you can keep your margins away from each other, then you make money.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, key things in brines is, as you point out, the biggest hurdle is capex. Once you jump that hurdle, the opex is low. And what differentiates pretty much brines from hardrock lithium is the margins. So in a low environment, brines can compete, no problems. If you look at the highest producer is Orocobre in terms of their cost around $4,000 a ton for lithium carbonate, and even that with the current price is around $10,000. The margins are still healthy. I have to clarify that the product that Orocobre says it doesn't receive $10,000 a ton, but it still get good healthy margins. But the other thing to consider, if you get into the lithium industry and you look at brines have longevity because the projects are based in large basins, usually, large sulfide, where resources are relatively massive. So you could expect an operation to last 20, 30, 40 years or plus because of where they reside. Where spodumene could have a shorter life, and it depends of a block model, depends of getting deeper, operating costs. In brines, it's pretty much flat, where operating costs in spodumene, will vary as the mine gets deeper, unless they follow in a channel. So those are things to consider when you get into the lithium industry. Where would you like to be? Would you like to be in a steady environment for the longer term, or would you like to make money in the short term? So the investors need to look at all of those things and what suits them. It's not right or wrong, but the industry is definitely very different in this part of the world compared to South America. I'm here for a marathon. I believe that our project has those key elements, and it's got a good combination also of high grade or low impurities. So outside Chile, our project is the best in Argentina and second best in the world, I would say, because of those relationships. Not all brines projects are the same as well. You need to take into consideration what differentiates every sulfide from each other. They're not the same. So they all vary in grade and impurities. So the high grade, the low impurities gives you the perfect recipe for that low operating cost and the highest margins you can look. And our project position it where it is, and you can see it, our neighbors, that reflects the potential that we may have once we come up online, and that's what we're working for. So it's a really interesting part of the world where we are and the state where we are. But to give you a bit more of my background, I was a lithium analyst. And when I came across this opportunity, I put my head down and said, all right, what do I need to do to make this happen? Sold my car, put all my savings into this project and make it happen. So I started PTY Limited Company. I negotiated all the contracts that you see into Galan and put it all together, amalgamated, and they did a backdoor listing now that is called Galan Lithium. In 12 months, we've done a lot of work. We've done geophysics. We've been granted 3 rounds of permits to drill, and we currently start drilling a new target. So it's a lot of things that we've done in a very short period of time because I see the quality, and this is the key thing for us that differentiates us from other juniors as well, the quality of the asset where we are.
One of the things that I don't understand, I guess, is that coming from a mineral resource background, I can understand the pegmatite. You drill, X number of holes, you can define where this pegmatite is. How do you define a brine resource? I know you can,
yeah,
obviously.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Probably you need to use a bit more of petroleum techniques. The petroleum industry is very mature, and they know very well how to estimate a reservoir. We're looking at a reservoir of salty water, brines, instead of petroleum. So what you're looking is for consistency. So pretty much if you drill a hole in one end of your tenement and you put on the other end of your tenement and you see that there's not much variation, then you can start inferring continuity. you definitely need to do in field drilling in some areas to get the polygons right and make sure that what you're having has the right grade and purities, that the variability between two holes doesn't change much. And a key thing on any salt flat is permeability. What it means is how much porosity do you get in your rock. So the more porous your rock, the more brines you're going to host. So meaning that you like salt with big holes, or you like to have sands, because sand, is very permeable and hence the porosity is high. So those are the things that probably you need to look into a brine deposit as well. They're key things to a project, because if you don't have that porosity, then you cannot extract the liquid.
That's right.
So those things we tick in boxes in our salt flat. We finding that we have the grade, we have areas with average porosity that are targeting that could be good. We are in the process of our resource estimation, which is being run by SRK in Perth. We expect to have our maiden resource estimation in September. So we're not far away from it.
Okay. And obviously these resources are bound by channels or controlled by channels, bound by permeability neighbours, right? That you want them to stay in one spot and not disperse, obviously. Would that be the reason why your OPEX is low going forward, being able to extract that by, you're extracting fluids, literally. Yeah. You're not digging trucks and stuff, right?
Absolutely. I mean, why the OPEX is low, and I can simplify in a few things. In mining, you need to do drill and blast, truck and hole, crushing and screening, concentrate, and then you have your concentrate product. So there's a lot of energy-intensive activities throughout the process, where in brines, all what you have to do is pump. Yep. So you pump your brines and let it evaporate, and that's how you concentrate. So the energy intensity is very low. The highest costs are more at the back end, where you need to start producing the lithium carbonate. You put that concentrated brine, that you add some chemicals, and then once you get to a certain level, you put into a plant, process, and then you get your lithium carbonate. So your end product doesn't require as much energy, and that is what the difference between hard rock producers and brine producers is. How much energy do you need to produce the same unit? And that's where the brine producers have the advantage at this stage in terms of producing lithium carbonate.
Because I've learned over time, that the technology to do this has been around for decades, right? It's not sort of recently invented, right? So I was talking about the SOP guys, sulfate potash. They have the similar kind of issues, and I said, well, almost today you can take the technology off the shelf, because thanks to you guys, it's similar, not exactly the same.
Correct. Interesting enough, the technology was targeted for potash production initially, and lithium was a byproduct. So that's how it started, because these salt flats in Chile and Argentina still got a lot of potash. Okay. So now this technology has been rejiggered to trying to retrieve more lithium, and they produce lithium carbonate. But potash at this stage is a poor cousin of the lithium industry in South America, because the lithium price went up so much that the credits of potash are really, they're still there, but they're not as important as they were once upon a time. So yeah, it's really interesting how the technology has changed, and how the targeting of the technology has been these days. From the lithium brine production, there's a conventional technology that you see with ponds, but you also could have heard of new technology coming online that is at an early stage. We're also investigating. We're not close to the idea of producing lithium carbonate without ponds and shorten the time up to production. Just to give an idea, it takes around 12 months, 12 months, 18 months, depends on the salt flat, to produce 1 unit of lithium carbonate, where the hard rock producers is pretty much, you're just doing within days. And that's one of the benefits to the hard rock producers to come online very quickly. But at the same time, there are some initiatives in the brine sector to produce lithium carbonate in a much faster way. You got example as Livent that have their own proprietary technology. It's a black box, not shared to anyone, but they're doing something with resins that have been produced lithium carbonate very quickly. We don't have access to that technology, but there are other technologies out there that are intended to replicate something similar, and it's something that we can get our hands on, and it's showing that it works. Then we'll definitely investigate and see how it performs in our salt flat, because the chemistry in every place is different, and we'll take it from there. We're sticking to the conventional technology for the time being. We don't want to reinvent the wheel and expose ourselves to risks that we know how to minimize risk in the brine sector with conventional. We're open to look at what else is out there, and time will tell. But we're excited that we got options. We're excited that we have a good starting point. And if you compare to where Hombre Muerto, which is the salt flat where we are, compares to the other salt flats in Argentina, I would say that we're in pole position.
I mean, I used to tell people that, look, the lithium industry is like this. Soon as the brine guys get their act together, the hard rock guys are going to struggle, because it's going to cost them a lot less to produce lithium from brine than it is going to be from hard rock. How true, or if you were to comment on that statement?
Well, it depends on what's your view on demand. My take on demand is that for lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide for battery purposes, in light of the expectation that the market will continue growing on the likes of Tesla and all the electric cars are coming online, I would say there's enough for everyone. If we are in a very competitive environment that we probably were 5 years ago, brine's all the way. So but I believe that the sector's changing, that we have a window opportunity of 10, perhaps 20 years, where it's not going to be enough. So every part of the world, meaning brines and hard rock, has got a part to play. When it becomes competitive, it will reverse back to what it was 5 years ago, where the price was around $5,000 a ton, $6,000 a ton, and there were no other Australian producers than Green Butchers. There's an exception to the rule because they got world-class high grade and a good deposit. Otherwise, yeah, definitely, the brines will be there. But one of the things is the lithium sector will have ups and downs. I'm positive about the industry, but these things that we experience today, with the low price happening, and then it will recover, and then we'll go down again. That's the nature of minerals in general, the economics of minerals. If you want to be completely safe about any downturn, brines is definitely where you should start.
Yeah, I think with minerals, it's always up and down. I think only in my 30 years in the industry, I've only seen oil price drop once, and they're pretty much back to sort of steady now. But I guess at the end of the day, let's face it. It's I've always said longevity is about profit and loss, your margins, and that's the key. Capex is your hurt money, and if you spent that and your system's working, you sell something at $2 and everyone's buying at $2, you're going to keep selling it at $2. If you sell at $20, people will start looking for alternatives, and that's the problem. I think that's one thing I like about brines. I'm not saying that I'm an expert in lithium, but you sort of weigh things up. One's very cheap to produce, one's very expensive to produce. It's easier for me to understand hard rock for obvious reasons, but it's good. I mean, in terms of, you touch a bit on the lithium market itself. Where do you see it? I mean, like, I just read an article saying that one of the cobalt mines are going to close. Oh, that's very positive for cobalt price. I don't think that's so true for lithium, isn't it? Lithium is more of a steady in terms of supply and demand. Is that fair?
The lithium industry has been in equilibrium up to 3-4 years ago. Now the new demand just changed all of that. And I believe my take, looking at the big picture, is the lithium market won't mature for the next 10 years because there are so many demand. The demand for batteries is not well understood. Today we're talking, or like we started talking in 2011, 2010 on batteries for laptops and mobile phones. Then we moved to electric scooters and cars. Then, you get in trucks, you get in housing, you might get freights, like sea freights, being hybrid. We don't know yet. So, and as long as that change is happening, we still don't know how that's going to fit with everything that we're doing in terms of the supply side of things. So it's a market that it's got many variables. We're not understanding fully. Today it's a perception that it's an oversupply. Maybe in 2 years, when all these platforms that are being built to build new vehicles, that may change. And we're talking about another spike in price, but we see that in every commodity as well. The market not being ready or gear up for it or misreading things. We saw it now, 10 years ago, where the price jump up. So these sort of things do happen, and what it differentiates a good investment, and this is what we trying to tell the market from our own point of view, is that we have a project that it could tick all the boxes for the long term, and with longevity, we'll have a higher capex, but once you're in, then you're there set for life. So a lot of variables to consider. It's not an easy answer that I would like to tell you. The market also, lithium is not only batteries, the other half is all the industrial uses. But the industrial side of things are more mature in terms of what is understood compared to the battery rates. And the industrial side of things require less purity of lithium. So you can get away with a lot of things. Where in the battery sector, you need to be really precise about the product that you're doing, as you're making, apologies, and those sort of things that we believe that we could get there. We could make battery grade lithium carbonate from our salt flat, because we do have a neighbor that are actually doing it. So, and we do know that POSCO that recently bought a portion of Galaxy Resources. Is actively doing things at Sal de Vida. I was there 3 weeks ago, and I could see more rigs from POSCO doing a more resource definition about what they have. So they're not quiet. They bought the asset, and they're definitely doing something with it. So I believe that this, the whole industry is gearing up for something big. If you look at the investment of the top 4 companies, what they're doing, they're not stopping. They keep investing. They're slowing down in certain areas. But in where they see that they are the lowest operating cost, they're still doing something. And I can give you an example, like Kwinana, with Albemarle and Tianqi, they actually are investing to integrate the concentrate production into lithium hydroxide. So if these companies are investing into doing an integration of the process, is because they believe that this is going to be for a long time. So the sector is strong. We will have ups and downs. We have an opportunity to present. The top major companies, they're still in the game, and they're still investing. And there are a few things that are slowing down, and for obvious reasons. But it's a very dynamic world. And as long as we know the industrialized world as it's changing, and all the technology that's been applied, and all the automation of vehicles, cars, houses, and everything else, batteries will have a larger role to play, and that's why I'm in lithium, because I believe it's a good future for it.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. I think if any time you want a gauge of long-term future, you just have to look at what the Chinese are doing. They are the masters of long-term vision. So when they invest in these kind of things, you know that it's for the long term. And I've always said, competition, if there's more demand and things have become less expensive to do, the competition will be how much can you produce your lithium for. And it's always about margins at the end of the day. You can say what you like. At the end of the day, the guy with the lower margins will survive longer than the guy who's got, a bigger cost structure to carry. But JP, we could go on forever.
Yeah.
But thank you for time. Thank you for coming and just sharing your thoughts.
Well, thank you.
So maybe down the road we could do an update.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we have a whole battery of news coming up soon. Resource estimation is coming up next month. So
Oh, that's good.
definitely I could come back and tell you all about it.
Oh, I like this the sector. I think definitely it's come down to a point where people can now look at it and not be afraid of buying at inflated prices. So I think the sector has, I like the word equilibrium. I think it's a good time to sort of suss things out and pick the right choice.
Well, thanks
All right,
very much.
thank you.
Cheers.